Hey guys, welcome to my video. I talk about my career, finance, and relationship, which are all the things that fulfill our lives but also can stress out a lot. So if you clicked on this video, I relate to you a lot as well because this is a recent realization I've had after going on multiple dates. I felt like I was getting obsessed over another person even before my first or second date. I was just going through like their Instagram, for example, and I would daydream about them, thinking about like where to go together on an excessive level. Before I start, I like to make it clear that I've been on relationships and quite serious long-term ones ever since I was 17. And I also started like dating and made it quite my whole entire priority ever since I was 17. I had spent so much more money than what I should have and more time despite not having enough time doing all those ambitious things. And I was therefore constantly adjusting my resources around people that I liked. These kind of wrong choices accumulated to finally made me stay in a relationship that I knew I should have left, but didn't have the courage because I couldn't bear the idea of staying and being alone. So, the first question to ask yourself to avoid this happening and even realizing that you're doing this is, do you really like them, or can you just not bear the idea of being alone? I think being left alone is such a scary concept as human being. Like dying alone, feeling lonely, deprived of human connection when you're old, especially if you're coming from an unstable family environment and you see your family, you know, realizing this kind of nightmare in your head. It's so much easier to be scared of this kind of things potentially happening. And I was talking to my work colleague yesterday, and she said it is certainly a good feeling to know that someone in this whole wide world is always on your side. And now I'm not objecting that this is such a great feeling, but this shouldn't be the reason why you want to stay with a person who's, for example, objectively treating you wrong. And this should certainly not be the reason you feel awful being alone and exploring every option, every opportunity to meet people who you think they might be able to give you that promise, that feeling when you're only 22 like me. I certainly do grieve the past version of myself because I used to be so comfortable and content being in my own presence. But what changed is the acquisition of new feeling of having that someone else was always on my side, which I could realize through my first relationship, and I'm obviously so grateful for it because it was so wonderful and so shockingly refreshing that this experience that I've had in my first relationship made me long for this feeling again whenever I would find myself alone. People all tell me that like I'm a super independent girly, like growing up abroad, making a living by myself ever since I was a student. But what a lot of people don't know about me is that independence wasn't a choice for me that I tried hard to cultivate. Quite frankly, I didn't really have any other option. So this really drove me to find that one person where I could stop being so independent and rather dependent and reliant on them. So it seemed like I had independence in terms of building my career. Well, I was and I am still so lost in finding the true independence in personal setting. Now, the second question is, do I like them or do I just miss the feeling of being chosen? I'm going to state this very clearly. You can't have everything at once, and you do not have to figure it out by 25. I'm really sad that I don't have the perfect someone right now who's going to give me that feeling that I've previously mentioned. But at the same time, I have friends whom I love, parents that care about me, a job that I enjoy, and a room that I love spending time, etc. I think, first of all, it's so important to realize what other grateful opportunities you have because these are certainly not permanent. But anyway, let's say Tom Holland and Zendaya, the couple that I can literally think of right now, couldn't make it because Tom Holland couldn't stand being alone and got married to someone random who wasn't really cut out for him when he was like 19. How sad would that be for that unrealized, better potential future? What if you just can't bear the idea of being, not chosen and being alone, that you choose to be with someone else when you could have had so much more opportunities that sees the way that you do when you're like 27, 28, right? Lastly, we all know limerence. Limerence is an intense, involuntary state of romantic obsession with another person where we can't stop thinking about that person. You have an idealized version of them, which makes your entire day better if they send you a single text or a nice gesture, for example. So think about whether you truly like them as an individual person, or you like the version of yourself being happy with the idea of loving someone instead of being alone. Loving someone as an individual and loving the feeling of being in a relationship are two entirely different concepts. It's very confusing, very tricky. You have to figure out if it's a limerence, figure out if it's just a feeling of being chosen, etc. While you can think about whether your independence is might be more truly true personal independence. But I think as long as we ask ourselves this first before being obsessed and quite dependent on another person's simple gesture, you'll figure it out, you'll get there, and I'll see you in my next video.